Hi, everybody. Welcome to anybody who got the notification about 30 minutes ago to join me here. And if you didn't, as usual, this will be on my page.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to anybody.
Shouldn't be watching that on my phone. So if anybody joins me, I'd love some questions, but otherwise, let's continue the questioning later. Whenever you do watch this on my Facebook page, I will be checking it and answering questions in the comment section of this video as we go on, even over the next couple days. So I have my kids' immunity on my mind today, and I know a couple weeks ago I talked about both my kids having actually an illness, and they're fine right now, but I have a confession to make. My son has just started middle school. He's in 7th grade, but he just started middle school, and he's getting up at 6 a.m. every morning and catching the bus at 6:50. And my confession is a couple of them. I don't necessarily always get up with him. My husband, my wonderful husband, does, and helps get him ready, and then they leave, and my husband goes to work. So it works out, I think, but my husband is an angel, and he's doing that. But so we're into the 5th week of school now, or so, somewhere in there. And my other part of my confession is that I've been really concerned that my son is not getting adequate nutrition in those early morning hours, partly because I'm not up, and partly because no one gets up early enough to make a really good, nutritious breakfast, which I have always prided myself on making for my kids. So he has been eating some frozen burritos. Now they are high quality, and I will show you the ones we're doing, but again, I'm not super proud. He goes off and on with the highest quality cereals I can buy. Oftentimes it'll be Ezekiel sprouted cereals. I will try to find grain-free cereals. Oftentimes, well, a couple of times I've made an overnight soaked oatmeal dish for him in my Instapot, which is, I think it's fabulous. My kids don't seem to love hot cereals, so unfortunately that's not necessarily a win, but it is a great way to go. But when I get these high quality cereals, he does also have very high quality dairy with it, full fat, organic, raw milk when we can get it. And, you know, maybe a full fat yogurt, low sugar, organic, all that kind of stuff. But I still just I'm feeling a little bit bad that he's not been getting the type of nutrition I think he should be getting every single morning. And so the last 2 mornings I've woken up and I have made him eggs. What else have I done? See, this is the difficulty is that I can't really cook bacon in the morning. It takes too long, or sausage, or a protein really takes a while. And I'm not forethinking enough to make breakfast type sausage, which I know there are wonderful recipes out there with eggs and meat and veggies, and I should make those, and I should have them in the morning, and we could throw them in the microwave. So there's an idea for you that I just haven't done. Again, they're super easy. They're, you know, like I said, eggs, meat, and veggies. Why don't I do that? I should do that. So I wanted to talk today about some of the ways I'm getting around this concern, because I am concerned. Here's the deal. He is or has been in the past, my lower immunity child. He, earlier in life, up to about the age of 4, he got frequent sore throats, and it was strep, frequent croup, and it's gotten much, much better with our diet and lifestyle, and he very infrequently gets sick now, but he is my child that does tend to be sort of the canary in the coal mine. When we're not getting the right sleep, we're not eating well, he starts coughing and sniffing, and sure enough ends up with a cold. So I get very concerned. He's also, interestingly, my child that had cavities up until the age of 4. He's 12 now and hasn't had another cavity, but that always pops into my mind, similarly to the immune stuff, because the foods that I talk about, love, promote, all have, you know, the nice thing is there's 4 or 5 foods that all have these amazing nutrients in them that boost immunity, but they also prevent cavities. So these are the 2 things I start getting concerned about when my poor son is having a little too much cereal with not the highest quality dairy, and just not getting in the egg yolks, the fats, the proteins, the animal proteins and some of the animal fats, and just the variety of nutrient-dense foods that include the fats. Really, that's a really big thing for me. So when I do use a sprouted grain bread for him, I'm always putting Kerrygold butter on it because the butter is helping to boost his fat-soluble vitamins, his vitamin A, D, and K, and those are boosting the immune system as well as preventing cavities. So make sure you get your fats in there. Avocado, make sure you get your fats in there. So when he's having his breakfast burrito, and I'll show you the one that's not too bad. So this is one he's been having, and it has pastured eggs in it. It is organic, and it has turkey, so it's got some meat, and it does have some cheese in it. So it's relatively whole food. I didn't look at the grams of fat. It has 12 grams of fat, and 4 of them are saturated fat. So again, for those of you who don't know me, I believe our kids need fat. They need to come from healthy sources, but fats are essential in the absorption of nutrients that boost our immune system and prevent cavities. And so making sure your child does not have a fat-free burrito in the morning. So for a little while there, he was having a bean and cheese burrito, or it might have just been a bean and rice burrito. I don't even think it had cheese in it. It might have been vegan. And so there was very little fat in there. So I was at least making sure there was an avocado set out for him or something like that. So really making sure you're keeping the carbs and the sugar down and making sure they get a fat and a protein for their breakfast. This is where really it can be pretty simple, but you gotta kind of think about it, and you gotta look at what they're having every day. And so that's been the thing for me that has been bothering me a little bit, that I'm not waking up and making this elaborate breakfast anymore. So how do we do this? How do we go about this? So eggs are pretty quick. He had 2 soft-boiled eggs this morning. I gave him some, it was gluten-free banana bread made with almond flour. Kudos to my mother for making that with lots of Kerrygold butter on top, and then the 2 eggs. The oatmeal, if I make a steel-cut oats and I cook it overnight or soak it overnight, cook it in my Instapot, I'm putting butter on that or coconut oil, and I get their fats in there, guys, because that again, it's where how they absorb the nutrients from their food as well as containing nutrients in that fat. So the other couple things I want to show you really fast, if you're a little concerned that maybe you're not getting that nutrient in, those nutrients in, your breakfast, your mornings are a little rushed. The couple things I'm making sure that he gets, I want to pop up a couple things here. We've talked about food, reducing sugar. Couple things I've been giving him and my daughter as well, but I love this vitamin C powder. It's BioFizz by Designs for Health. I'll put a link to that down below. Vitamin C is essential in immune function as well as adrenal function. It has many other, it helps with collagen formation. It has a lot of, probably thousands of uses in our body. But vitamin C is sort of the soldiers in our immune system. It's part of the army that fights germs. And when there's too much sugar in the body at the time in the bloodstream, the sugar or the glucose, the blood glucose, can compete with vitamin C for the receptor site. So if you are giving your kids vitamin C trying to prevent an illness and then giving them too much fruit juice or, sweetened cereals or, just too high carb meals and, candy, even too much dried fruit, you're going to be suppressing your immune system. And then if you're trying to support the immune system, your sugar is going to be fighting against the vitamin C in the army of that vitamin C, and the sugar usually wins. So you actually suppress the immune system for up to 7 hours with 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1 teaspoon of blood glucose. Okay, so keep that sugar down. The thing with this time of year, we call it cold and flu season, don't we? It's we think there's a lot of different theories behind why this is the time for cold and flu season. I have a lot of theories about it. A couple of them are, yes, the weather is changing. In Chinese medicine, there is a lot to be said for how the weather affects our sort of our surface immunity, our surface protection from the external world. There's a lot of shifting in what happens in our body and what organs are most active during the different seasons. So there's a shifting going on according to Chinese medicine that makes a lot of sense during the change of seasons. It also makes a lot of sense from the point of view of getting hot and cold. Maybe your kids get a little bit cold at night. Perhaps they're exercising or in soccer practice and they sweat a little bit, and then they cool off real quick and they get freezing cold and they're outside and they don't have a sweatshirt. I really am a believer that, and maybe it's my Chinese medicine background, I'm a believer that getting chilled or getting too cold can cause an illness. And I have read only one study on this. It was a study done in England. And of course, it's probably cold and rainy much of the time in England. So these kids were playing on a soccer field, and somehow they did, I don't know how the study went. I read this a long time ago, but it was something about their feet being wet, and whether maybe they changed the socks of half the kids right away and kept their feet warm and dry. The others, they left wet socks on the kids. Well, the wet sock group got sick at a much higher frequency than the ones where they kept their feet wet, dry. So I do really believe that there is some mechanism to our bodies, maybe our immune system being a little suppressed, maybe it being stressed out, perhaps being cold, stimulating cortisol suppressing our immune system, which is absolutely scientifically proven. So there's a lot of things with being cold and changes of seasons. The other thing is we are back at school, we are in more enclosed rooms, and we're closer together as we start staying inside more with colder weather, closer to our friends and colleagues and peers, possibly passing germs around. The other really, really big thing, though, is that we are not outside as much, so we're not getting vitamin D. Vitamin D is absolutely essential for immune function, and so we're not getting that. And then also where we live typically in the United States, as the sun gets lower at our horizon, depending on the latitude we live, we are getting a much smaller window of the type of sunlight that actually reaches us and provides the vitamin D on our skin, the chemical reaction that makes the sun turn to vitamin D on our skin. So I don't know exact specifics, but I know we are at a latitude that about 7 or 8 months of the year here in Reno, Nevada, there's a very small window in the middle of the day where your skin can make vitamin D, and the rest of the time we're not. So during the winter in our types of latitudes, we want to really consider supplemental vitamin D, because we just unfortunately aren't getting the same amount from the sun. So these are some of the things that I believe go into the typical cold and flu season. And my belief is very strongly toward boosting and supporting the immune system, not onslaughting it with any chemicals or poisons or anything that's going to not make their immune system work optimally. So we want to be supporting them full time so we can prevent them. And then when we get a cold, when they do get sick, we support them more strongly and a little bit more specifically. But so food was a really big one for me. Vitamin C, and I showed you the C plus, let's see, the C BioFizz, it's called. Vitamin D is another one. Like I said, at our latitudes, we probably need to be supplementing. Kids are pretty safe at 1 to 2,000 IUs of vitamin D, and it's a vitamin D3 is really the best way to go. That's the active form of it. Vitamin A is also a really important one. This is a little bit harder to get. It's the activated form of vitamin A, so it's the preformed vitamin A. It's not beta carotene that we usually think of in carrots and colorful veggies, although those are also important. But the conversion rate of beta carotene to active vitamin A, which is what the body actually needs for immune function, is not very efficient in most of us. So while there is some conversion, and definitely eat your veggies and eat your colorful veggies, the preformed vitamin A is probably not the place that you're getting, the thing you're getting from your veggies. So vitamin A is a little harder to get. We tend to get it more from animal products. Unfortunately, liver is one of the highest sources of vitamin A, and most of us definitely don't eat liver. So my favorite way to supplement vitamin A is Green Pastures, and it's a fermented cod liver oil. I'm going to show you that one. This is not the typical one I use, but it's a bottle that I've got just to show you the brand. And I will put a link in that below. That will give you a good, nice, synergistic complementary combination of vitamin A and vitamin D from the cod liver oil. And the fermentation process is just a process by which it's kind of a cold process. It's a safer process of extracting the fats out of the liver of the fish. So it's not a chemical process, and then the fermentation is just the process. I know it sounds kind of nasty, and I usually do capsule form because it doesn't really taste that great. But you're gonna get your preformed vitamin A from liver, and alternatively cod liver oil, okay? Zinc is also a great one. Again, you know, you can get this in lozenge form. You'd want to keep the dosing pretty low, but small amounts of zinc are really important for, again, adrenal function and immune function. One of the best foods for zinc is oysters. My kids actually love smoked oysters in the can. So that is a great way if you can introduce some of these new foods. You also get some zinc from other seafoods. You also get vitamin D from seafood. You get vitamin C, obviously, from fruits and veggies. You want to make sure your fruits are pretty fresh. So if you're buying oranges, you know, they could have been on a truck for 2 weeks and then sitting on in your grocery store shelf for, who knows, a week. They're really going to lose a lot of their vitamin C. So if you have any chance to pick ripe, fresh, you know, citrus fruit off the tree, you're going to have great vitamin C. Let's not fruit juice our fruits. Let's just eat them whole, because we don't need, you know, it takes 8 oranges to make a glass of juice or something to that effect. You're never going to sit down and eat 8 oranges, and you're going to get way too much fructose and sugar out of that. So just eating the whole foods. Okay, so let's see. Did I show you all my stuff? Yep, I showed you all my stuff, and I'm going to put some links down below in the comments. If you have any questions, let me know. But just wanted to focus. Oh, my favorite vitamin. Sorry, I forgot this one. I call sleep vitamin S. Sleep is absolutely a nutrient. Your kids need, if they're the ages of, off the top of my head, I can't remember the chart exactly, but between 6 and 13, they need about 11 hours of sleep, 11 to 12 hours of sleep a night. So they really, really, really need this sleep. It's not just, you know, so they do well on the test or so they kind of feel okay and they're not grumpy. This is brain function. This is myelin sheaths. This is nerve conduction. This is brain cells talking to each other. This is huge. Sleep is absolutely huge. It is growth hormone. It is melatonin. It is circadian rhythms. I mean, it is behavior. It is everything. Sleep is everything. So please prioritize sleep. My son now getting up at 6 a.m. He goes to bed on the dot at 8:30, and with a few exceptions, but on the dot at 8:30 on school nights, and gets up fairly easily at 6 a.m., although he does need an alarm clock. If your child is waking up at 6 a.m. without an alarm clock, you're golden. That would be great. Ideally, we should be waking up without an alarm clock. That's kind of an indication that we're getting the right amount of sleep. But sleep is essential, especially if your kiddos are having to get on a bus at 6:50 in the morning. Sleep, nutrition, you know, keep all those in mind, and boost some of that vitamin C, you know, keep some of the maintenance doses of some of these vitamins in there. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to consult if we need to get a little deeper. Some of the nutrient and supplements that I use on my kids, I'm not advertising here because they do require a consultation, and they require, you know, for me to chat with you a little bit more than just recommending. I need to be working with you a little more closely. But you know, the vitamins A, D, K, and C, and zinc, and these foods and the fat-soluble vitamins and healthy fats. So thanks you guys for being here. Contact me, comment below, ask any questions. I'll be coming back and answering all your questions, and I will be posting some of these supplements that I talked about today. Thanks for being here.